explaining the phrase, in verse. Hello everyone, today, we'll delve into a commonly used phrase in the English language, in verse. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand its meaning but also how to use it effectively in your conversations. In verse refers to the expression of something in a poetic form. The word verse in English generally relates to poetry or a line of poetry. So, when something is in verse, it is written as a poem or in a poetic style. For instance, if someone says, "He wrote a story in verse," it means he wrote a story using poetic lines or stanzas, rather than in the usual prose format. The term verse comes from the Latin word versus, which means a line or a turning. Over time, it evolved in the English language to represent a line of poetry or poetic expression in general. Therefore, when we say something is in verse, we are emphasizing its poetic form or structure. It's important to understand the context in which in verse can be used. Here are a few examples. 1. Shakespeare's plays often contain sections in verse, especially when characters are expressing deep emotions. 2. Instead of writing a traditional speech, she decided to present her thoughts in verse. 3. Many ancient tales and legends were passed down in verse form to make them easier to memorize and recite. It might be helpful to understand the contrast between verse and its counterpart, prose. While verse is a form of written or spoken language that follows a specific rhythmic pattern, prose is the regular form of spoken or written language, without the structured rhythm of poetry. So when we say something is in verse, it is not in the regular, straightforward format we use in daily conversations or typical written content. Instead, it has a rhythmic or poetic quality to it. And there we have it. Now you're equipped with the knowledge of what in verse means and how to use it appropriately. We hope this explanation has been enlightening and that you'll confidently use this phrase in your future English conversations. Until next time, keep learning and exploring the beauty of the English language.